In this video, we're going to go through heat calculations. The question we're going to answer is how can we calculate the amount of heat involved in temperature changes and phase changes of a substance? So let's begin by reviewing the units that we're going to need for our heat equation. So we have heat energy, which uses the variable Q. Now, just like in physics, we're going to use the same units for energy. Those are going to be joules or kilojoules. And the conversion between those is 1 kilojoule equals 1,000 joules. When we use the heat equation, which we'll get to in a few moments, when you have an endothermic reaction, when heat is being absorbed, you're going to have a positive Q value. And when it is an exothermic reaction, when heat is being released, you're going to have a negative Q value. Mass is going to use the units grams or kilograms, and again, the conversion between those is 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams. Okay, the other unit that we're going to need for our heat equation is temperature, or change in temperature. So when we are in either increasing or decreasing our temperature, our change in temperature will always be calculated as final temperature minus initial temperature. We're going to use the units degrees Celsius or Kelvin. Now, a change of 1 degree Celsius is equal to a change of 1 Kelvin. So you can use those units interchangeably. Okay, the new unit here is going to be specific heat capacity, or C. The units for specific heat capacity are going to be joules over grams times degrees Celsius. This is the amount of energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of a substance by 1 degree Celsius. If you have a smaller specific heat capacity, that means the substance is going to heat up faster because it's taking less energy to raise that substance by 1 degree Celsius. So here I have a table of some common specific heat values. So we've got water up at the top. Notice water specific heat capacity, 4.184. That's going to come up frequently when we're doing some practice. I've got zinc down here at the bottom, which is 0.387. Aluminum right here, 0.902. So again, this is how much energy is needed to raise 1 gram by 1 degree Celsius. So smaller things like zinc are going to heat up faster than things like aluminum, which requires more energy to heat it up by 1 degree Celsius. This is our heat equation. So it's Q equals mc times delta T. So the mass of the substance times its specific heat value times its change in temperature. So here's an example. It says how much heat is needed to warm 250 grams of water from 22 degrees Celsius to 98 degrees Celsius. So we're going to be using our heat equation, and in order to perform this calculation, we're going to need the specific heat of water. So if I go back up, as I mentioned earlier, water is going to be 4.184. That is going to be our specific heat capacity. So I'm going to set this up, and our equation is going to be Q equals mc delta T, or mcat. All right, so we have 250 grams of water, and I'm going to need that specific heat capacity that we looked up on the table for water, which was 4.184, and the units for specific heat capacity are joules over grams times degrees Celsius. And then my change in temperature. It's always our final temperature minus our initial temperature. So 98 minus 22. 22 was our starting temperature. And those are degrees Celsius. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and plug this into my calculator. If I do that, I'm going to get 79496. And if I rounded that to 2 significant figures, it would just be 79,000 joules. Okay, so molar heat capacity, or CM, uses the units joules over moles times degrees Celsius. So instead of using grams, we're going to be using moles here. This is the heat required to raise the temperature of 1 mole of a substance by 1 degree Celsius. So we're just going to take our specific heat value in C and we're going to multiply it by our molar mass. So if we have joules over grams times degrees Celsius, and I multiply that by molar mass, which is grams per mole, my grams are going to cancel out, and my new units are going to be joules over moles times degrees Celsius. Okay, so it says determine the molar heat capacity of water. So all the information here is given. So again, our equation is just going to be the specific heat capacity times the molar mass. So to calculate our molar heat capacity, I'm going to take C, which is 4.184 joules over grams times degrees Celsius. And we're going to multiply that by the molar mass, which is 18.02 grams per mole. Okay, so when I plug this into my calculator, I get an answer of 75.40 joules over moles times degrees Celsius. All right, let's talk about phase changes. Here are some words that you're probably familiar with. So we have melting, where we go from solid to liquid, freezing, where we go from liquid to solid, boiling or vaporization, where we go from liquid to gas, and condensation, where we go from gas to liquid. So I have this diagram showing all of our phase changes. So when we are melting and then vaporization or boiling, we are absorbing energy. Those are endothermic. We're absorbing energy for those to happen. So these are going to be positive because they are endothermic. Now our others, freezing and condensation, we are releasing energy. Those are exothermic because you are releasing energy here. Now, when we phase change, there's an amount of energy that's required. So it's either the heat of fusion or the heat of vaporization. Fusion is where you go from liquid to solid, or solid to liquid. It can go either way. When you are melting, it's positive. When you're freezing, it's negative. Heat of vaporization is where you go from liquid to gas or gas to liquid, depending on the direction you're going. If you're going from liquid to gas, it's going to be positive because you are vaporizing and you are absorbing that energy. When you are condensing, you're going from gas to liquid, you are losing energy, so it's going to be negative. Now notice our units are just joules over grams. This will come up in a later lesson, but when we phase change, we're not changing temperature until the phase change is complete. So when you're boiling water, it changes from liquid to gas at 100 degrees Celsius. Once it's all converted to gas, then you can raise the temperature of the gas. So temperature is never involved in the phase change. We're just using the phase change, which is going to be joules over grams. There's no temperature involved here. So these are the phase change equations, relatively simple because there's no temperature involved. We're just multiplying the mass by either the heat of fusion or we're multiplying the mass by the heat of vaporization. So let's do an example. It says how much energy is needed to melt 5 grams of ice. And we're given all the information here. We're given that we have 5 grams of ice and we're given the heat of fusion. So in order to do this conversion, we are going to need to multiply the heat of fusion by the mass. So our Q is just going to be the mass, which is 5 grams. And we're going to multiply that by our heat of fusion, which is joules over grams. So when I plug that into my calculator, I get 1,700 joules. That's how much energy is needed for this phase change, where we're going from solid ice to liquid. All right, last example. How much energy is needed? How much energy is released when 100 grams of steam condenses? All right, so here, Q equals, we're going to start with the mass, just like when we did our heat of fusion. We have 10 grams. Okay, vaporization, here we are releasing energy. So this is going to be negative 2260 joules over grams. All right, I'm going to go ahead and plug this into my calculator, and I'm going to get negative 22,600 joules. And that's it. That's all there is to heat calculations.